The Franklin County Sheriff says his investigators now know who is behind a robbery at this gas station. I'll tell you how it's connected to a standoff in Lexington coming up.
Days after Lexington police found more human remains in the Kentucky River, the Valley View Ferry is being shut down again. But are police any closer to solving the mystery of who this person is?
One little campfire can grow to be several hundred acres.
Forest officials are coming together to prevent forest fires.
This is WKYT News at 5:30.
Good evening. She was arrested after a standoff with Lexington police last week, but it turns out that wasn't the first crime police say she committed.
Lexington police say they stopped Robin Holbert on Versailles Road because the car she was driving was reported stolen. But today we learned that Frankfort police believe she's also responsible for a robbery their office is investigating. WKYT Sean Moody explains how police were able to connect the crimes in our top story at 5:30.
When investigators first started working this case, they weren't sure whether that robbery suspect was a man or a woman. Shortly after the story first aired, they started getting tips that it was a woman from Lawrenceburg, and they say evidence Lexington police recovered after a standoff confirmed that.
This is the surveillance video the sheriff's office released after that robbery last Sunday night. You can see that robber pull out a gun. The sheriff said the person's skin was covered with some kind of white substance, maybe powder or paint. The robber takes cash from the clerk's drawer and gets away.
I think what stood out was the way she moved, her actions, her mannerisms.
Franklin County Sheriff Pat Melton said his office started getting tips pretty quickly.
You know, it was a challenge, obviously, to disguise. But, you know, we had several tips come in that identified her on our Facebook page and on our text or tip line. I mean, several.
2 days after the robbery, Lexington police arrested Robin Holbert after a standoff. They said they had pulled her over because the car she was in was reported stolen. They said she ran from that car with a gun, and that's what started the standoff that lasted for hours. Today, Sheriff Melton said Holbert is the woman who robbed the gas station.
Our detectives did a great job on this, and she did admit to the robbery that it was her. And the evidence that Lexington has is consistent with what she had during this robbery and what we've got on video.
Holbert is still listed as an inmate at the Fayette County Detention Center. In Frankfort, Sean Moody, WKYT.
A Franklin County grand jury indicted Holbert on charges of robbery and possession of a handgun by a convicted felon today.
New tonight, investigators in Lexington will be back out on the Kentucky River tomorrow. The Valley View Ferry between Fayette, Madison, and Jessamine County will be open only from 6 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. tomorrow for commuters. It will then be closed for the rest of the day for police to continue their investigation of that area. Investigators say they found human remains in the water near the ferry this past weekend and last week. And so far, investigators have not been able to identify those remains. The ferry will reopen on its regular schedule on Thursday.
Deputies in northern Kentucky are looking for an inmate they say walked away from work detail this morning. Our county-by-county coverage at 5:30 begins in Mason County. The sheriff's office says 36-year-old Matthew Martin of Warsaw walked away from the county's recycling center at 9:30. They believe Martin may have been given a ride with a tractor-trailer truck driver to northern Kentucky. Martin is 5'7" and weighs about 180 pounds. He was in jail on a parole violation for a felony conviction. And in Jessamine County, a cat injured after getting its legs stuck in a trap is now ready for adoption. Animal care and control officers say someone found the cat with its leg stuck in the trap around Williamsburg Drive in Nicholasville in September. Vets amputated 3 of the cat's toes, and now the cat, renamed Goldfinger, is in the care of Caring Hearts Feline Rescue. Investigators are offering a reward for any information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person responsible for setting that trap.
A very warm start to our November. In fact, we tied for the warmest November 1st ever recorded in Lexington. WKYT Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey is tracking more of that for tomorrow, right, Chris?
Yeah, indeed. 1987, you now have company in the record books. November 1st of 2016 will join you as the warmest temperature reading on record for November for the city of Lexington at 83. 82 right now, low 80s. Most of central and eastern Kentucky with a little more in the way of some cloud cover showing up. And I'm looking at that London cam and noticing a little backup there in one of the lanes there along Interstate 75. But overall, warm southwesterly winds are blowing across the Bluegrass State. A couple of pockets now dropping into the upper 70s. And as we go through the next hour, those thermometers will drop through the 70s. But it's a warm flow for not only Kentucky, but the entire Ohio Valley. And that's one that will keep in here for the day tomorrow. It's going to keep on doing its thing for one more day before we see a cold front that is out into the plain states right now that has some seasonal air. It may be typical for what we should be seeing this time of year, rolling our way as we go toward the end of the week. We will track that big temperature drop when I come back here, guys, in 10 minutes.
Chris, thank you. And looking at the temperatures, it's hard to believe it's the start of November, right? But we found some people in Lexington today taking advantage, of course, of the warm weather. We ran into one man who was wearing shorts and a T-shirt still at the park.
I was thinking about how great it was outside, and so me and him would get out and do something. So definitely, it's mind-boggling.
Like Chris said, this warm weather will come to an end soon. So if you want to get out and enjoy it all, you have today and tomorrow. So take advantage of it, right?
Yes, indeed.
And the warm weather is also keeping the Forest Service people busy. This time of year is fall forest fire season here in the Bluegrass.
And firefighters in eastern Kentucky have been battling several fires in the past several days. New at 5:30, WKYT's Mike Linden talked to forestry officials about their plan to hopefully prevent forest fires.
Fall is a popular time to hike the Red River Gorge, and for good reason.
Well, it's beautiful. There's a lot of diversity. You can hike ridges, which is what we did last night. We hiked out to a ridge top.
Unfortunately, state and federal forest officials have been busy lately for all the wrong reasons.
One little campfire can grow to be several hundred acres or maybe even 1,000 acres, depending on where it starts.
Just last weekend, Daniel Boone National Forest officials extinguished 14 abandoned campfires in the Red River Gorge alone.
One of the biggest reasons why this wildfire season is more dangerous than the spring are the leaves. Rather than being packed down on the ground, this time of year, they're very loose. And if they do happen to catch fire, they can spread pretty easily.
To help raise public awareness of the wildfire danger, the Forest Service Wildfire Prevention Team is encouraging hikers and campers to be sure their fires are dead out.
I mean, stir it, put water on it, feel it with the back of your hand. If you feel heat, stir it some more, put some more water on until it is dead out, until you don't feel any heat.
Just a few minutes is all it takes to prevent a small fire from becoming a big problem.
It's so easy to just make sure that it's out. And it has such a horrible consequence if you just don't take that time.
In the Red River Gorge, Mike Linden, WKYT.
According to the Forest Service, 2/3 of all wildfires in Kentucky are arson related. A wildlife center project in southeastern Kentucky took a big step forward today. The Appalachian Wildlife Center in Bell County got a major funding boost. They received a $12.5 million grant from the U.S. Office of Surface Mining and Reclamation Enforcement, and that grant will cover more than half the cost of the center.
This is one of the proudest moments that I've had. We've been working on this with a lot of people for a long, long time.
I stand here more humbled today than I've been in a long time, and I don't remember being more humbled than I am today.
The Wildlife Center is expected to cost about $24 million. Leaders hope to open it by June of 2019.
A week from today, we will elect a new president. Kentucky voters will also vote in U.S. Senate, congressional, and state Supreme Court races, to mention some of the top ones. James has our good question tonight. He's asking, what steps, if any, do the Secretary of State and/or local county clerks take to purge the voter rolls of deceased persons and to ensure that unregistered voters do not vote? It's a good question, James, very timely. I contacted the Secretary of State's office. A spokesman tells me the State Board of Elections purges deceased voters from the rolls on a regular basis. They use information provided by the Kentucky Office of Vital Statistics. Now, the latest numbers show there are 3.3 million registered voters in Kentucky right now. Here is how they break down by party. There are 1.7 million registered Democrats in Kentucky, or 51%. Registered Republicans number 1.3 million, or 40%. Other party registrations account for about 180,000, or 8% of voters. And the polls open at 6 a.m. sharp next Tuesday, November 8th. To submit a good question, send an email to goodquestion@wkyt.com.
Still ahead on WKYT News, a Lexington bar has a new addition that no other bar has. We'll get a look at Bell's new rooftop bar.
I'm Bill Bryant. The talk is tough right out of the gate in the only televised Kentucky U.S. Senate debate. And it's the home stretch for all of the candidates as the election is now 1 week away. The bottom line is ahead.
Senator Rand Paul and Lexington Mayor Jim Gray had some feisty conversations during the U.S. Senate's only debate of the campaign.
And the presidential candidates are ramping up their campaigns with more ads. WKYT's Bill Bryant explains in the bottom line.
Good evening. After all the drama and aggressive campaigning, the general election is now just 1 week away. The presidential race has gotten the most attention by far, but there are other contests as well. Kentucky will elect a U.S. senator, and last night incumbent Republican Rand Paul and his Democratic challenger, Lexington Mayor Jim Gray, had their only face-to-face debate. It was televised live from KET in Lexington on Bill Goodman's Kentucky Tonight. There were some heated exchanges, including Gray's call for a higher minimum wage, which Paul opposes. It was clear it would be a feisty night as soon as the debate got started when Gray threw out some lively language.
It's perfect on Halloween night because Senator Paul is starting out with Halloween scare tactics. He wants us to believe that his wild-ass theories and philosophies are the remedies for everything.
I mean, you got an enormous hole in the middle of Lexington. It's been there your entire tenure. You've been there 8 years, and it's like you're talking about something that doesn't exist, and here you are running for 2 offices. Why don't you take a pledge to do your job as mayor?
Gray and Paul both indicated they will support the nominees of their respective parties for president. Given that there was just that one debate in the Senate race and only one in the Central Kentucky congressional race, TV ads are playing an even larger than usual role in the conversation. Longtime Herald Leader reporter and political observer John Cheeves says he hears voters repeat lines that they have heard on those 30-second spots. Early tomorrow on WKYT this morning at 6:35, WKYT's Hillary Thornton looks at how ads are driving the conversation. House Speaker Paul Ryan said today he has already voted for Donald Trump, but he says he is not going to campaign with him. Ryan says he took advantage of early voting, but as Trump stumped in Ryan's home state of Wisconsin today, Ryan was heading out to Indiana. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton is telling crowds there is no case here in reference to the FBI's examination of emails that could be related to her time as Secretary of State. An ABC Washington Post tracking poll out today had Trump up by 1 point nationally. Several other polls are tightening, with Clinton still leading. And Clinton is going back on the air with ads in Colorado where they had been pulled back in late summer. Trump is making a major ad buy in Michigan, which has not gone Republican in a presidential race since 1988. Bill Bryant, WKYT.
It is the first like it in Lexington. A popular downtown bar is opening up their rooftop to customers.
Today, Lexington Mayor Jim Gray and the owners of Bell's Cocktail House celebrated the opening of the city's first rooftop bar. This area is large enough for 100 people. The Cocktail House has been open for 3 years, and the owners say building a rooftop bar is something they've had in the works since day one.
From the very start, we wanted to do this, and now we kind of have the collateral and the bandwidth to capture our dreams of doing something unique for downtown Lexington.
Bell's Cocktail House will open up its rooftop to guests on Friday.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey.
And we have a summer-like beginning to the month of November. It's a record-setting day for a lot of thermometers across not only Kentucky, but the Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley, Mississippi Valley. Today, one of the warmest days you will ever find for the month of November across Kentucky. Jackson Cam, noticing a little haze, what looks like haze showing up in the distance. That's likely some smoke from some forest fires that are burning into parts of southeastern Kentucky. It's dry. We had a wet summer. You got a lot of extra fuel in the woods. Abide by all burning restrictions that are out there. Live Skycam with a summary view over top of us in Lexington. We are 10 degrees toastier, Lexington, than we were at this point on Halloween. 17 degrees warmer into Maysville and Covington, 19 degrees hotter into northeastern Kentucky. Upper 70s, low 80s right now with the sun setting earlier and earlier. Keep in mind, time changes this weekend, so that sunset obviously is going to be right upon us about this time. We're going to see those numbers sliding off fairly quickly. A little cloud cover creeping on into northern Kentucky. Those are ice crystal clouds, similar to last night. Nice little sunset taking shape. Heading out and about tomorrow. Hey, plan on the weather that you had today. Soak it up. You can put the shorts and the flip-flops away, though, after tomorrow. That's if you still got them out. 37 degrees. May have to actually find the fall coats again for late Thursday and into the day on Friday when a chilly wind will blow, a typical wind. Rainfall amounts with this latest computer model pretty puny compared to what the same run was showing us an hour ago. Generally a 1/10 of an inch or less. This is not a big-time rainmaker that's coming into town as we go into the day on Thursday. It will be more of a temperature drop maker, and yeah, some gusty showers and some chillier winds that will knock the numbers down to where we should be for this time of year. There's your front late in the day on Thursday, zipping its way on through here. Once it bypasses us and leaves us alone, in its wake, chilly northerly winds and temperatures that will be, again, closer to what we should be seeing for this time of year. Hour-by-hour forecast into the short term to show you that temperature drop coming up on Thursday. We'll spike it up toward the mid-60s, middle of the day Thursday, and look at Thursday afternoon. Mid to upper 50s that will be showing up, so it may be a little colder for the trip home than it is for the trip into work and school on Thursday. And coming up in the next half hour, we will expand that hour by hour to include the weekend. Speaking of hour by hour, guys, you're going to gain an hour of sleep Saturday night as the clocks go back 1 hour before we go to bed. Seasonal chill this weekend, 60s for highs, 30s for lows.
Good weather, an extra hour of sleep. What could one ask for more?
A victory out at Commonwealth Stadium Saturday
There you
night.
go.
There's an injury crash outbound Georgetown at Citation. The vehicles are in the intersection there. At least one lane is blocked on each street. That's at Georgetown and Citation. There's also a collision at Clyde between West Main and Texaco Road. That's an injury. And a non-injury at Mall and West Reynolds Road. Not much of an impact there. To Nicholasville, still in less than 15 minutes. To Versailles, running about 12. Now back to you in the studio.
The Associated Press putting out its preseason women's poll.
And the top of the poll looking a little different this year. We'll tell you where the Cats are ranked. And one thing the Kentucky offense is needed, improved play from that offensive line. Mark Stoops is getting it. He talks about it next on WKYT. Mark Stoops has always wanted his offense to run the football, and right now Kentucky is putting together its best running game in years. The Cats racking up 377 yards on the ground at Missouri last weekend. Boom Williams and Benny Snell combining for just about all of it. And a lot of credit goes to the offensive line, where Stoops says he knew he had good players.
You're starting to see quite a few of those guys have a lot of game experience. And they're growing up. Well, not all of them. I mean, we're mixing in some redshirt freshmen. We're mixing in a true freshman. But it's easier to do when you have other experienced quality players around them. And it's nice to see that rotation right now. You know, it keeps our guys healthy. It keeps us healthy down the stretch. They're playing extremely physical. That group has been extremely selfless. They come off the sidelines, sit there, talk to each other, make adjustments, and that really can be said about all of our position groups.
And it is Georgia coming in here Saturday night, coming off a loss to Florida. Kickoff 7:30 on the SEC Network. EKU football lost a third straight over the weekend at UT Martin and now find themselves near the bottom of the OVC standings. With 3 left on the schedule, the Colonels say they are trying to finish out the season strong. Coach Mark Elder says his team is still motivated.
Yeah, I do. I feel like that we've got a very motivated team. We've got a team that loves their seniors. Everybody is well aware of the sand running through the glass right now for those guys and love the seniors and want to go out and play hard for the program, for the team, and particularly for the seniors for sure.
And next up for EKU, it is Murray State Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock down in Richmond. Yesterday, the men's AP Top 25 came out. Today, the women's poll is out, and Kentucky is number 19. Connecticut, a team that has won 75 consecutive games, is not number 1 in the country. The Huskies are 3rd. Notre Dame is number 1, with Baylor a close 2nd. South Carolina is number 4. The Louisville Cardinals next. Kentucky will play 11 games against teams ranked in the preseason top 25. A game time temperature in the 70s for Game 6 of the World Series tonight in Cleveland. We'll be right back.